Well, starting off the first episode that intentionally doesn't start at the mechanic station. I left off last episode on the way to get a truck I'd found, and I found a different thing on the way there. It appears to be some kind of big desert tower with a purple crate near the base of it. And I actually got some pretty good loot from this, including some level 3 concrete. I finally climbed this tower of crumbling stone, and at the time of recording I'm not actually sure what could be on top of it. I'll have you all know that this thing was surrounded by yellow toad bots, which is another reason I'm glad I didn't bring my car here, because if you run them over, it will destroy your cars. Yet another situation of the view from up here being beautiful. In a classic case of something that's really weird at first but makes sense now, it was very dangerous at the top with the green tape bots on top, but I mean, it's a big stone spire with a big yellow building on top. It's bound to be dangerous in hindsight. So yeah, that thing will have to wait to be interesting for a few more episodes. I didn't run into much else on the way, but I finally found it, and it's time to finally put the wheels and stuff on this truck. If you don't remember from last episode, this truck had pretty much nothing on it. There was nothing but the frame of the truck and some bearings. There were no wheels, no seat, no nothing. Anyway, with that done, I could finally get on the road and go to our base. And it's just gonna be another Fade to Black. There's not much interesting on the roads when they've already been explored. And so it's once again time for me to drive into the sunset. And I finally made it home, and soon will be time to go get the other vehicle, but it's time for a little break first. And that was when I realized how hard it is to get out of this vehicle. After that, I decided to just skip the break and go get the next vehicle. And I finally reached the other vehicle, and I pretty much immediately just put gas in the engine and started driving home. It really wasn't all that interesting. I finally brought the car home, and it's time to take a little break before doing something new for this playthrough. But sitting around all day just wondering what to do was not all that entertaining, so I'm gonna cut it out. Here's the full lineup of my cars so far. I've got a pretty nice lineup aside from the three-wheeler. I quite literally never used that throughout the rest of the recorded episodes so far. So I decided to start farming, and it turns out there's a little red bar in the top left of the screen whenever you plant now. So that's a little concerning. I'm planting 5 tomatoes. Surely that isn't enough to get me a raid. I planted 5 tomatoes. It looks like that's actually enough to get me a raid. It turns out that raids don't wait till midnight anymore. They actually now spawn in at most a minute after you plant. So that makes me question how difficult these are gonna be. Surely a 5 tomato raid can't be difficult. I hear hay bots. The most you'd get from a 9 tomato raid in Chapter 1 was like a few toad bots. Needless to say, I didn't think 5 tomatoes would get me a raid, and so I didn't set up any walls. Not only did I completely fail and lose all of my plants, I also died. I'm just gonna cut out the next farming footage. It's excruciating to watch, and it was even more so to actually experience. All you need to know is I tried it a few more times, died a few more times, and completely failed a few more times. Oh yeah, I tried with one plant. It went just as horribly. Anyway, that actually ended up being the end of this episode. You know the deal, blah blah blah, subscribe, all that stuff. The next episode's gonna be a lot more interesting than just going and getting cars and horrifically failing at farming. Goodbye.